What's up, guys? Thanks for stopping by the channel again today, and we're going to be doing something a little bit different this time. It's an idea that I've been kicking around for a while that I kind of want to see how the reception works with it and see if it's something you guys are interested in, and if it is, then I'll definitely keep up with it because it's something I think I would enjoy putting out. We're going to be throwing it back today to, I don't know if a lot of you guys are probably familiar with it, some of you might have only seen some clips of it, the famous White Bowser priest costume apology video, which is an absolute favorite of mine. Before I even knew what a Lolcow was, a friend of mine started trying to like explain to me who the White Bowser was, and everything that he said just made me understand less. Like I just every single detail that he gave me, I was like, "What? Like this can't be a real person. Is this like a character?" You know? And he was like, "You know what? The easiest thing to do is just show you, just completely cold, out of context, with no anything." He showed me the apology video, and I think that's probably like why I'm here doing this today. That's how I ended up down this rabbit hole, following a million channels and constantly keeping up with all the different lolcows. This is where it all started at. So, that being said, if you guys have not seen this before, you're in for a treat. If you have seen it before, it might be fun to see it for the first time in a while. I'll occasionally, with all the like new news that comes out, sometimes the regular old Lolcow news cycle, as ridiculous as that sounds to say, sometimes it'll get a little bit stale, and I'll just have to go back and like watch like the Chris Chan arrest video or something like that to cleanse my palate. And this is one of those. This is one of the ones that will just never not be funny to me. So we're gonna get into it, and hopefully it's, I was gonna say hopefully it holds up as well as I remember it holding up, but it's, there's no way it doesn't. I'm calling it right now. This is gonna be as funny as it was the day I first saw it.
Bless me, O Internet, for I have sinned. This is the White Bowser here, and I'm showing up for a confession on the Internet. I've dressed up in full church garb, and we're gonna get straight into it. Now,
Okay, before we get straight into it, there's so much to unpack. Like, but and again, like try to imagine yourself in my shoes seeing this for the first time, completely cold, like knowing nothing about this dude, not even knowing what a lolcow is. The first thing, following following lolcows kind of like warps your brain. It opens up the Overton window of like what is normal and what is weird so far, to the point that like Cyrax will be doing some shit sometimes, and you're like, wow, you know, that that makes what King Cobra was doing yesterday seem like relatively normal. And it's like, no, none of it is. Absolutely none of it is. If you weren't steeped in watching all this stuff all the time, it would all seem absolutely batshit insane to you. And the thing that I remember thinking the first time that I saw this was like, what is his house? There's so much going on there. He's got like shipping boxes with a bunch of cat carriers stacked on top of them. There's i- and at this, one of the first things that caught my eye is like, I didn't know that mohawk wig there between the My Little Pony and the Bowser will go on to be very famous, but also it's hilarious that he bought a mannequin head for it. Like at one point he had, probably online, it had to be online. At one point he was like, I need like a safer, more secure place to display and store this mohawk wig. So I need to get like a nail salon mannequin head to put it on, which is incredible. Like just the hoarder house with like the most interesting little tidbits in the world kicking around in it is already so funny. And then the only other thing I'll say before I throw it back to our friend Earl Doobie over here is that he said he's going to like internet confession at church, but you dressed up as the priest. The priest is not the one saying the confession. Like, if you were going to confession, you would just be dressed up in church clothes. Like, you'd just be wearing like a button up. I guess it depends. Like, you would just, that doesn't make sense. That's always been hysterical to me, is that it's like saying, I'm going to internet court to like defend my case, and then he dresses up as a judge. Like no, that's the opposite of. All right, let's give it back to Earl. He's breaking my brain already.
Now, what I'm going to discuss in this video will be full transparency about what I did wrong at Imagine Macomb, and I'll do a part 2 to this video where I describe what I did wrong on the anime Discord server. Now,
What what an incredible I love that in the 53-minute confession video, he starts it by being like, "Yeah, and I did some stuff on an anime Discord server that I'm going to have to make a totally different video about." Like what a stunning admission right right from it's again like to use the court analogy, it's like if you walked into court and you're representing yourself and the judge calls you to the stand and they're cross-examining you, they're asking you some questions, and you check your watch and you look and you're like, is this going to be a whole lot longer? And they're like, uh I mean, it could go any amount of time. Why? And you're like, oh well, I have another case for an assault charge later in the day today, I was hoping to make it to. It's like that would just immediately display to everybody that you're already trying to win over like what kind of a person you are that you've got something else pending. You know what I mean? Like that's incredible to me. Another thing, just for people who, if this is like I can't imagine there's too many people who clicked on this who don't know who he is. But if you don't know really anything about the White Bowser, he's gonna keep saying Imagine in this. Imagine is the movie theater that he worked at previously, just for a little bit of context, so that what he says will make sense.
now, before we even get started with any of this, I want to preface this with the simple excerpt. I did not mean for any of this to happen. I did not prey on anyone intentionally, and nothing was done that I wanted to happen. Now, did I make mistakes? Yes, of course I made mistakes.
I'm gonna pause it again just to throw this out there. So I usually, with a lot of these videos, I will make like I'll make like a hypothetical drinking game in my head. And usually I record these early in the morning, so it's not like something I'm actually sticking to, but it's a fun way to like keep track of something that repeats itself over and over and over again. So like a lot of times with the Nova videos, it's oh wow. It's every time he says oh wow, that would be one. With this one, truly, the only thing that I can think of to do for it, because it's so all over the place, but it happens to, I guess, to me specifically so often, is every time that I physically cannot stop myself from laughing, and I would die. We are a minute and 6 seconds into this, and so like I think it's the way that he's just so matter of fact, like when he says that he didn't prey on anyone intentionally. I truly like. I usually try not to just be like cackling into the microphone, but I'm warning you guys right now. There's gonna be mixed in with the commentary, just me laughing my ass off at this, because I've seen it so many times and I cannot control not laughing at this.
Will I man up for them and confess to you what my mistakes were? Yes, right now I will confess to you what my mistakes were. I dress up in confession uniform
What?
because
What do you mean confession
I am doing
uniform?
a YouTuber apology, I guess you could say.
No, you dressed up as a
But
priest. It's the
what
opposite.
I've realized is that this apology video won't matter.
I haven't been I don't go to church anymore like as an adult, but I was raised in a family that went to church, and I've been to confession a million times, and never did my dad come downstairs on a Sunday morning and be like, "All right, we're going to church, and don't forget, we're going to confession today, so put your confession uniform on." I'm like, "Oh man, I already put on my regular church uniform. Now I got to go back upstairs and get the confession uniform."
There's still gonna be assholes online who don't care about the apology. There's gonna be ass. I've said this time and time again how I've received forgiveness for my actions, but still doesn't matter to assholes on the internet. They don't care. You don't care that I received forgiveness for what I did. You don't.
See, this is like the fundamental misunderstanding that like every single Lolcow seems to have. It might be like the defining trait of like what makes them the people that they are on the internet is the idea that like so he's think about like just what the feeling this is coming from is. He's upset because people on the internet are holding him accountable for his actions, and he's already set up like a justification in his head for why it's okay, which they all do all the time. This person forgave me, or I, went and said my confession, or I made an apology video, but people are still bothering me about it. So like his whole his whole beef here is that people on the internet are messing with him, and like he thought it would somehow improve that situation to dress up as a priest and rehash the details of exactly the thing that they're bothering him about. Like, just the complete fundamental lack of understanding of what is drawing negative attention to them in the first place is on full display here.
So, don't know really why I'm doing this video,
See, like, he's
but
admitting it. He doesn't even understand his own
still gotta
actions.
fess up for what I did. Still gotta confess my sins. So, I will now confess my sins.
All right, let's hear it.
I started working at Imagine Macomb Theaters around around January of 2019.
All right, again, the the understanding of confession, like I just love that that's the lens that he's putting this through. So his first confession mistake was that he dressed up as the priest instead of, being the person confessing. His second confession mistake is that like usually I don't know about your church, but the one that I went to as a kid like was relatively busy. So there was like a line usually, like they would, you'd go in, they would hold confession before mass so that you could still like get the Eucharist during mass because you confessed ahead of time. So there'd usually be like a small line of people in front of the confessional waiting to go in. You kept it pretty short and sweet. Like you would just go in, you just be like, I cheated on a test. Okay, you get your three Hail Marys or whatever, and that's kind of it. Like Bowser, can you imagine this guy goes into church, he sits down in the confessional, and the priest is like, okay, like says, I can't remember exactly what the prayer was, but they say a little kind of a prayer to you, and they're like, all right, tell me your sins. And Bowser sits down, he's just like, well, I had this job in the summer of 2019. No, you don't get to give them your life story and like the whole entire background to try to justify whatever the sin is. You're just supposed to say what you did.
And I worked there for almost 3 years up until June of 2021. Now, one thing you really have to understand is I enjoyed every single moment of working at Imagine Macomb. I had plenty of friends working at Imagine Macomb. Plenty. I was known as the popcorn machine because I would serve popcorn to tons of customers super super fast. I would There was never a dull moment working at Imagine Macomb. I enjoyed all my coworkers. I enjoyed their company. I enjoyed the friends I made.
I just gotta put this in context a little bit. A grown man dressed as a priest just looked into the camera and said, I had a lot of friends at that job. Really, really, I did have a lot of friends. Like he's just saying it with the air of like really wanting to convince you like I know you guys don't believe me, but I had a lot of friends. And also, they all called me the popcorn machine. You couldn't you could not write like a Will Ferrell character that was funnier than this dude just naturally is.
And I really was the spirit of the workplace. I feel I was the spirit of the workplace because I enjoyed every second of that job. There was a time working at Imagine Macomb where I was offered a supervisory position just before this incident, this accident happened. I was offered a supervisory position at Imagine Macomb. I was by the human resources manager.
All right, so I'm not trying to like belittle anybody who has at like their retail job or their food service job um gotten to be like a supervisor or a manager. I've worked a lot of those jobs, and it can be, when you're in that environment, it can be exciting to like get to move up the chain a little bit, and mostly it's usually a good thing just because you can make a little bit more money, which is like exciting, and that can make a big difference for you. But but my caveat to that is he is like staring into the soul of the camera, talking about the fact that he was like offered but never actually got a supervisor position at a movie theater as a grown man. He's talking about it as if he like was going to make partner at his law firm. Like it's just it's amazing to me the I not even the lack of awareness, but just the like he truly is like that's a big deal, and that's like a character reference to me. Like, do you think they'd let a bad guy almost maybe be the supervisor at the local movie theater? Absolutely not. Not there's no way.
My friend Nick. My friend Nick and I, we even when he was a lead at Imagine Macomb, he was such a good friend, and he understood that what I did was an accident, that it wasn't intentional. Even my best friend at Imagine Macomb, Gio, who went on to become a supervisor in my stead after I quit Imagine Macomb, he said, Earl, what you did to their cartoons wouldn't even hold up in court because it was an accident, because it was unintentional. And that was one thing that I really never understood.
So here's one thing that I never really understood. He had such a bad habit of doxing people. I mean, there's a whole this confession video is like attached to like a gigantic rabbit hole of stuff. He was like going on panels and talking to people about this. At one point, Kiwi Tapes set up like a fake online court case for him, and they had like lawyers, and they were calling witnesses to the stand, and it's, in my opinion, it's one of the funniest Lolcow arcs out of any of them, like regardless across the board. It's one of the funniest things in the world to me. But the throughout all of it, the dude could not stop doxing other people who worked at the movie theater, like the location of the movie theater, and then the girl who he did what he still 5 minutes into the video hasn't actually said what he did to her, but like the victim in this situation, he doxes her constantly, and at one point he starts doxing members of her family. And like if there's things, it just, on the internet, like you can get away with a lot. There's like a couple of things that people hate. And it's the thing that he's about to admit to, and then it's doxing people like that. It just immediately just gets you like a bad rap when you do that stuff. And he does it over and over and over again. The person who did this video, who I will shout out at the end, and I'll link their channel. They edited it and cut out everyone's names that could be like identifying to them. So you'll hear like they edit, it's like an Earl soundboard like playing over him doxing people. But it comes up more than once. I do remember that.
How can I be a sex offender if what I did was unintentional?
I told you guys it was gonna happen. I it was almost like a jump scare because I just got done saying that he didn't say what he did, and then as soon as I hit play, he says it. That reminds me of what I was gonna say before I paused it. Um, so he says in there at one point, he's like, "Yeah, I was talking to my friend, and my friend said to me that wouldn't even hold up in court, bro." And it's like, dude, that is not that is not a flex that you are innocent. That is not something that somebody would say if you were innocent. I would hope, like, okay, if one of my friends who I knew really, really well and who I like could not imagine ever doing something like that, like what he's going to admit he did, told me that he was being accused of having done something like that, my first reaction would probably be to say something along the lines of like, "No way, you would never do something like that." Like everybody knows you, man. Everybody knows you would never do that. Not, well, sounds like her case is a little thin. I don't think that would even hold up in court. Like the fact that you're saying it that way is you saying like, "Oh, I know you would do that, but you're probably gonna get off scot-free." Like that's just a like the way that he's describing other people reacting to him being accused of doing what he did is like so telling about how people see Earl as a person.
If what I did truly was an accident. It's like, uh, doesn't mean I don't feel shame for it. I feel shame for what I did. A real sex offender would feel pleasure for what they did. I feel the exact opposite of pleasure. I feel disgust for what I did. I do. So, but let me get back into it. I had lots of great times working at Imagine Macomb. Lots of great friends. And truly, you guys, the internet, only really know the half of the story of what happened. But
Again, oh my God, what an amazing turn. Like so like a couple minutes into the video, he just randomly drops, "Yeah, people are calling me a sex offender." But let me get back to my confession. I really did love working at that movie theater. And it's like, what? Wait, no, we gotta go back to what you were just saying. You can't just jump back into you were Mr. Popcorn. Like, what are you talking about? And then he goes on to just to say that the internet only knows the half of the story. And this is like another this is just another like fallacy that he uses, and a lot of the lolcows will do it, where they'll try to act like oh well, you guys only hone in on like the one thing that I did, and it's like, yeah, well, when you're watching like the 9 o'clock news at night and they show like a photo of a guy and they say like this guy robbed a store tonight, be on the lookout for him. It would not make sense for that guy to go on Facebook Live and be like, they put me on the news tonight, and all they mentioned was that I robbed a store. Nobody ever said, that I pick up my grandma's groceries for her every Thursday, and nobody talked about how I ran track in high school. It's like, yeah, no, because like on in this particular instance, the thing that people are having a reaction to and the thing that people have decided is worth talking about is the crime that you committed. Like you did that. So then you drew that attention to yourself. Like, yeah, in other contexts, people might be talking about what a good guy you are or, some achievement that you had. But like once you committed the crime, you've then made that the center of attention like that. And it's so funny watching him do this, watching him be like oh, that people really only know about this one incident. Like, yeah, no, of course they don't know about like the mundane days of you working at the movie theater just doing what you're supposed to do. They know about the insane thing that you did and then have consistently defended doing.
now that you know this intro of the friends I have at Imagine Macomb, Geo, Nick, Geo was the kind of person that told me that it wasn't your fault. It was an accident. Geo even told me that I should stop blaming myself for what happened. He he, he Geo and I, we both wish it never did happen
I
because
think everyone wishes it never happened.
it it soiled the entire relationship I had with everyone at Imagine Macomb. It was Big Brother Matt.
Again, all right. So another constant Lolcow trait. Think about what he just said for a second there. He says he wishes that this never happened, right? So a good reason to wish this never happened would be like, I never wanted to make that girl that I keep doxing feel that way. It must have been so upsetting for her. No. The reason Earl wishes it never happened is because now the people at the movie theater don't like him anymore. Like, even in the context of this quote unquote apology that he's making, the reason that he wishes he didn't do the thing has nothing to do with the victim. It has nothing to do with no, it's selfish. It's for him. He wishes it never happened only because now people see him differently and he wishes that he didn't have to be seen as a bad person. That's it. That's the only reason he wishes it didn't happen, is because it reflects poorly on him.
I had to fess up. I remember I remember approaching his big brother Matt and apologizing to him for what I did to her. That took balls. That that took balls to walk up to big brother Matt and apologize to him for what I did to his little sister.
He's patting
Now,
himself on the back
what
for
I don't understand,
apologizing to a family member of a victim for having done something that he never should have done in the first place. Like, he had like some he was like cocky about it. Like, he was like, that took balls, man. Like, you guys don't know. You guys don't know after you I can't even I'm trying not to say what it is so that when he describes it it'll be new for the people who don't know yet. But when you hear what he actually did, think back to this moment. Think back to him saying, "Oh yeah, it took balls for me to apologize for that," as if it's like a positive thing.
stand. I was 18 years old at the time this happened. She was. She was 18 years old. And to anyone online who wants to say that I sexually assaulted a minor, you're wrong. And I know you're wrong. Because Khan's twin sister, her name she was 18 going on 19 years old when this happened. So to anyone online who wants to say I assaulted a 17-year-old, 16-year-old, 14-year-old, 8-year-old, you're telling lies. You're telling straight lies.
All right, so I'm trying just to take the video for what it is, but I am going to add a little bit of context here just so you guys know. The girl was not 18 years old. This has been like litigated to death. People have talked to family members of the girl. Trolls have dug up insane amounts of information. The girl was not of age when this happened. She was a minor. Now, the other point that I just want to make is that if you were in like a horrible car wreck that was your fault and the police pulled you over afterwards and they're doing like the interview about it and they're like you know, you T-boned that guy, you blew that red light back there and you're drunk, and you're like you guys don't have a thing on me cuz I'm not even drunk. It's like, well, wait. So you're admitting to everything else? Like, you're admitting that you blew the red light, hit the other car, and caused the horrible accident? You're just saying that, hey, just so you know, this one part of it isn't actually as bad as you guys are saying it is? Like, that's almost the funniest part of what he just did there to me, is that he's not saying I didn't do it. He's saying the girl I did it to was actually not the age that you guys were saying she was.
You're only telling those lies to make you feel better about yourself. Me, I don't feel good about what I did. Why should I feel good about what I did?
No, I think
I was 18 years old at the time, and even though what happened was a pure accident that was unintentional, that I felt such disgust and shame for what I did. And that's one other thing I don't understand either. I know I was the perpetrator for my actions. I know Khan
go ahead, Kiwi.
was the victim.
If there's a word that maybe you should try to find a synonym for and not say if you have a speech impediment, it's probably perpetrator.
But that doesn't mean I shouldn't feel shame for what I did. Everyone should feel shame for what they. The common logical person would feel shame for what they did. in this situation, even if it was unintentional, even if it was an accident.
Earl calling
So
himself logical while he stands there making his YouTube apology in his priest costume and arguing that his victim was like a year older than she actually was is what an incredible statement.
let's get into the nitty gritty of what happened. On June 24th, 2021, Nick called everyone over, everyone in the theater. He called everyone over in the theater
All right,
to
now
the
we're getting into
corner
it.
of the theater to have a meeting. It was an obligatory meeting, which means you had to show up. I had to show up. I had to show up. Matt had to show up. Everyone had to show up to this meeting. Everyone did. You didn't have a choice whether or not to show up. You had to show up to the meeting.
He keeps doxing everyone. Like he's just like, yeah, and Matt, the manager who works at the movie theater and lives at 123 A Street, he had to show up, and Sarah, whose phone number is 267. Like it's so funny how he just cannot resist doing it.
So that was like the first thing that set the stage. Everyone was obliged to show up to the meeting. The human resources manager Nick made you show up there. So everyone showed up to the meeting. This meeting was meant to close down the theater quickly, efficiently, and effectively. Nick was gonna assign everyone their jobs and you know get the job done fast so everyone could go home fast. Now, most of you know this part of the story, okay? One thing that was
He's like getting nervous before he even says it. He's been beating around the bush for over 10 minutes now, and now that he's finally gotten to the point where like he has to say what actually happened, you can almost see the regret in his eyes. Like you can see him being like, "Shit, now I got to the part of the story that I really don't want to tell. I really just want to talk about how I was the popcorn machine and everybody loved me and I got unfairly fired." Like you can see him like his body language changed a little bit. You can see him like being like, "Oh man, like this is not the part that I want to have to talk about."
customary to do during the obligatory human resources meeting was
Once again, another word, just find a synonym for obligatory if you have a speech impediment. Jesus.
everyone would put their hand in the middle and say, "Go imagine," right? Well,
Go ahead.
Mama didn't want to do that. Didn't want to do the Power Rangers esque "Go imagine" bit. She didn't want to do it. I wasn't thinking at the time. I was
I
I
bet.
was foolish. I was stupid. I was. And I have to learn to forgive myself for what I did, but let me just explain what I did.
I mean,
Walked this way. I swung my left arm over, grabbed her left shoulder. She turned around way too fast for me to react. My hand slipped. It touched her chest. That's what you call. And much to my dismay, much to my. Much to how I hate to admit it, I groped someone.
I, I'm trying so hard not to just crack up into the mic right now. So, like just a little play by play there. The meeting, this I actually don't think I ever noticed this before. The person who called the meeting was the HR person, and that just makes it so much funnier. So while the HR person was standing there, you grabbed a girl physically to try to make her do something that she didn't want to do, and then she got groped, but it was really her fault because she turned around too fast for you to react. Incredible, incredible. What a storyteller we have.
Yes, I groped a woman, and that is my own sin that I have to bear. that I had to ask for forgiveness for.
I briefly worked in an HR department, and I wasn't really doing like the HR work. I was doing clerical work, and I just was in the department for HR. But I would see when like managers or employees would go into the manager's office and they would like explain like a scenario that they thought HR needed to know about that had happened like in the it was a manufacturing place. So I don't want to, put too much out there about it, but like the once in a while, a lot of times with HR stuff it was just like, somebody requested a day off and they didn't get it, but then they called out that day. It was like little minor timekeeping things like that. But once in a while, it would just be like, yeah, the one of the crotchety older supervisor ladies made a racist comment. And it was like those situations where you could just see the HR manager would just be like, he would do like a Christian stress sigh where he's just like, ah, like you could just see on his face, shit, this is going to be the whole rest of my day now. I'm going to have to deal with this, and it's not going to be fun at all. And it's so funny to me that the HR guy was standing there when this happened. And he also already mentioned that it was closing time at the movie theater. Like they were trying to give out the cleanup jobs, like so that they could close up shop for the night. So you're like almost out of there. And then you watch Earl do this in front of your face, and you know this guy had to just be like, shit, probably my week is ruined now. I am not going to be home at the time that I wanted to be home. I'm going to be dealing with this for the rest of the night. Like that it's this is I feel so bad for that guy.
Now, bear in mind, I was really quite in shock when the whole thing went down. I had never touched a boob before. I was just sort of frozen in place.
Hold on. I try not to rewind, but I'm going back. Look, you can't tell me that he's not fondly remembering this. He gets a little smirk on his face, like he's like, "Oh yeah, I remember yeah, we all remember our first time we touched a boob. For most of us, it's consensual. Not for all of us, but look, he gets this little
In
smirk on
shock
his
when the
face.
whole
Watch it,
thing went
watch it
down.
closely.
I had never touched a boob before. I
Yeah,
was
look, there it
just
is.
sort
I
of
I can't.
frozen
That's
in
too funny.
place. Now, I only quote unquote groped her for 5 seconds max. Doesn't matter.
Why would you? It was only 5 seconds. Not that that matters, but he wants us to look at it like it's in his favor. Bro, do you know how long 5 seconds is? 5 seconds is an eternity. Like, think about when you're watching like a boxing match and they start the count. 5 seconds is the longest time in the world. If you're like, if you're on the train and your hand, like the back of your hand, accidentally like brushes, somebody else's hand, you pull it away in like realistically less than 1 second. It's a fraction of a second. It's probably like a quarter of a second you pull your hand away. Can you imagine if somebody, their hand brushed yours for a second on the train and they lingered there for like one Mississippi, two Mississippi? That is an eternity. That is so much time.
I still did something wrong. I still have to fess up for what I did. It My first mistake really was when I grabbed her shoulder. I shouldn't have done that.
It's like one of the only true things he
I
says in the
recall when I
video.
was talking with the general manager of the theater, John, at the time. He said to me in a sort of fatherly esque way, "You're not getting punished for your first mistake. Wasn't when she turned around and you touched her chest. Your first mistake was when you grabbed her shoulder."
He said it to me in a fatherly way. I don't know how old Earl was when this happened. I want to say, though, that he was like 25 or 26, but what we do know is that he was a full grown man. Like 100% he was an adult when this happened, and this was a minor that it happened to. So I just, in that context, I love the idea that he's like, as a full grown man, after doing something horrible, my manager at the movie theater sat me down and taught me an important life lesson, which is don't grab women to try to make them do things that they've already expressed they don't want to do. And a light bulb went on in my head, and I was like, wow, I think he's right. Like, you can't. You're acting like you didn't know this already. Like, I don't know if it would be a bigger problem if he truly didn't know that already, or if it's probably a bigger problem that he did know it and that he's lying about it. But it's like, it's, I guess, just for anyone around him, it's equally bad whether he thought that was okay or whether he's now trying to act like he didn't know that it wasn't okay.
And he's right. He's right. That was my first mistake. That was something I never should have done. And I really wish it had never happened. Because I hurt someone after that. And I felt the utmost shame and disgust after what happened had happened. My hand slipped and touched her chest. That's all I can say. It truly was an anime esque moment.
So that that is that he has referred to it as an anime. The way that this actually got revealed, if I'm remembering right, is that he made a Reddit post describing the situation. Very similarly to how he describes it here, but not in the context of an apology. He's almost telling it like it's this like funny little anecdote from his life. But the title was something along those lines. Like, it was like the time I had an anime moment at work. And people have told him time and time again how effed up and disrespectful it is to call it an anime moment, and he just keeps doing it. Like, I
Kind of fitting since I'm such an anime nerd, but I digress. Days after that incident passed, I kind of went home after that because my manager who saw it happen, he dismissed me early. Didn't
yeah, I bet he
really
did.
tell me what I did. I had even realized what I did. I had groped a woman and not even had any recollection nor memory of it happening because it happened so fast. Because I was in shock of touching a boob. The craziest part is that
You guys know how it is. Sometimes, you touch a boob, and your memory blacks out for like a good 30 minutes because you're so excited about it. Like, it's like Men in Black. Like, when they hit you with the amnesia thing that they have, it's just, it happens, and then you completely forget that it ever happens, and there's nothing you can do about it. How are you supposed to recall the things that you did at work that they basically had to like stop operations and kick you out because of?
that she was kind of a flat chest. She was like no
Oh,
bigger
I
than a
forgot he says
teacup.
that about her.
It was actually her twin sister
Fucking stop!
who got the good genes. But
Jesus Christ, man. So he's now like, he basically just said like, "Oh yeah, I really should have groped her sister instead." Like, he just called her. Can you imagine? I you can only like put yourself, like, as a guy, you can only put yourself in a woman's shoes so much when we're talking about something like in this context, about like how shit, like, there's like the whole empathy versus sympathy thing where it's like you can feel bad for it, but how much, like, you can only have like a certain level of empathy because it's like you could just never be in that situation yourself. But man, I cannot imagine how livid I would be if, as a teenager, I got groped by like a mentally ill Earl Doobie at my movie theater job, and then he went on the internet afterwards and called me flat chested and said that my sister got the quote unquote good genes. Like, again, like, if you wrote like, if you were writing like an SNL skit of someone giving a bad apology for something that they did, you could not write one that was like worse than this. Like this is like a masterclass in everything that you should not do. I that one actually that was a jump scare for me. I forgot that he says that.
We're gonna stop talking like an asshole. My apologies. I'm in confession here. I should be talking more maturely towards the audience. What I did was wrong. And I felt great shame for it. I felt such great shame for it that I quit my job at Imagine Macomb. I was not fired. I quit. If you read my initial Reddit post that I made on r/confessions, which by the way, I really appreciate how you trolls online had to dig through my Reddit history just to find r/confessions. Keep in mind r/confessions is the kind of subreddit where you confess something you did wrong, where you go to receive forgiveness. That's the
New new avoid it if you have a speech impediment word discovered subwit it. That one sounds awesome when Earl says it. He's also mad that the trolls, quote unquote, like dug through stuff, like to go, like, just say what you mean, man. You're upset that people are holding you accountable for your actions. Like he's like, you know how much work I did trying to delete that, and have you not able to find it? And then you go find it. It's rude. Like it really is. It's so rude to his hard work of trying to conceal his actions, and people went and found it anyway.
whole point of the subreddit. But nope. No, 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 no. Not for smoky MCC internet trolls. Nope. Forgiveness does not exist. Confessions does not exist. The only thing that exists is conviction. And
Smokey
towards the
is one of my
conviction
absolute
towards which I
favorite
did,
YouTubers to this day.
I
Smokey truly is to the White Bowser. Smokey and Kiwi, you got to give Kiwi Tapes a lot of credit too, because Kiwi kind of buddy trolled Bowser for a while, which is like him thinking he had Kiwi on his side is how we got some of the best Bowser content that ever came out. But the two of them as a tag team truly are to Bowser what Music Biz Marty was to Cyrax. Like I've very rarely seen someone so systematically like get involved in the life of one of the Lolcows and like not even trick them or force them, but just put them in a situation to admit to and say and do so much insane shit.
I've learned that forgiveness really doesn't come from the internet, does it? Because I could say this a million times. Say how I remember going back to the movie theater after I quit my job, and my supervisor said, "Earl, everyone understands what happened was an accident.
Cap.
It doesn't
Absolutely
matter
not.
though. You hurt Kayla. So from now on, every time you visit the movie theater, you can't stay here. You have to leave. Now, like leave right away after you see the movie. You can't just stay and hang out." And that was a sad revelation for me because I was already disgusted with myself for what I did, but it hurt me a lot that I traumatized somebody.
He's showcasing the lack of awareness again just because even if you got fired from a job not for something like horrible, like let's say you just got fired from a job for like I don't know, being late too often, like something relatively benign. It's so weird that you would, after being fired, want to go in and like still hang out there. You know what I mean? Like I would be embarrassed to be walking around in a place that I was fired from around the people that were my coworkers that still work there. But no, even after he did this to get himself fired, he then wanted to go in there where she was and still just like hang out at the counter and chit chat with people. Like that is such diabolically insane behavior to me.
I, as a Catholic, have always believed in forgiveness. And for the first time in my life, I really could not forgive myself for what I did. I felt a lot of self hatred. I did. I felt so much self hatred that I took on a job at a crappy fast food joint, almost as if to punish myself.
What a fucked up thing to say. Like, it's again, it's not as if he was at like a law firm before that. There's nothing wrong with working at a fast food place. It's like, what about all the people who work there that are just working there because they work there and not because they're trying to punish themselves for an assault that they committed? Like, they're in his mind, basically groping the girl was okay, but working in a fast food place is unacceptable.
I remember talking to several of my cousins, several of my friends, who are all grown women, who are all older than me. Every single one of them told me the same exact thing. You should apologize to her.
I don't believe that. I think they
So that's what I
probably all
did.
said you should
That's
leave
what I
that
did.
girl alone forever.
December of 2022, right around Christmas, I wanted a Christmas miracle. I did. I did. So I wrote a letter of confession. Now, one thing that has to be understood here, this letter of confession that I wrote
Go ahead, Kiwi.
could have been used against me in court. It could have. And it could have undeniably labeled me as a sex offender for what I did. Even though what I did was unintentional, even though what I did really wouldn't hold up in court because it was an accident, like Gio said, like my friend Gio said. My friend Gio, he said, Earl, what you did wouldn't hold up in court. It was an accident.
Look, I'm gonna play both sides of the field here. You know, I wrote a letter of confession, and I totally could have gotten locked up for it, but also no, I couldn't because it wouldn't hold up in court because my friend said. Like, what? The way that he's just like equivocating, like, I'm a good person because I put myself at risk. He's trying to, he's trying to do two things at once. He's trying to say that because he risked consequences by writing this letter, that makes him a good person. But then he's also trying to maintain that he really didn't do anything wrong in the first place because it wouldn't hold up in court anyway. So it's like you have to like neither of these arguments really make sense. You know what I mean? Like they're both like a weak argument. But when he's trying to make both of them at once, like they're invalidating each other at the same time just by both existing in the same space.
It was unintentional. It wouldn't hold up in court. That's what Gio said.
That's what
But
Geo said, guys. That's case closed. Your Honor,
it
Geo
it
said.
didn't matter to me that what I did wouldn't hold up in court. I wrote that letter of confession,
No, I think
and she could have used that letter to sue me into oblivion for what I did.
She could have had my red mohawk. She could have had my Yoshi plush. She could have had my leaning bookshelf and my like sue me into oblivion again as if he's got like the Doobie estate or something like this.
And when I handed her that letter that said, under penalty of perjury, I confess for what I did to you. I am very sorry. You can't outrun shame in your life. You have to acknowledge what you did was wrong.
This might be like too in the weeds for some of you guys, and I hope I don't bore anybody with this, but in the book Red Dragon, which is one of the Thomas Harris books that Hannibal Lecter is based off of, and like the shows and Silence of the Lambs and everything, like that all comes out of those books. In in Red Dragon, the killer has he's got like a cleft lip, and there's you get a lot of his internal dialogue, and he spends a lot of time thinking of other words for words that he needs to use so that he can avoid using a word that will like trigger his speech impediment, like something that won't sound correct coming out of his mouth. And like I can't help but like as this video goes on, like I'm hearing Earl repeat certain words over and over again, and I'm just like, oh man, like do that just a little bit, like weto, leto, weta, say note. You know what I mean? Like that you're cool with with those consonants that are in there. Say you wrote her a note. You know what I mean? Like there's just I'm not even trying to rag on him for like something that he can't control when there's so many other things that you can rag on him for. But he's like consistently enunciating over and over and over again, just driving home words that he physically cannot say.
She handed it back to me and she said, I think we should move on. So I received forgiveness for what I did to her. I apologized to her.
It sounds like you
I
received she
approached her
wanted that
big brother
interaction
and
to
he
end
even
as
said
quickly as
life's too
possible.
short for hate. The one person who really never forgave me, though, was her twin sister.
And now she'll
She.
never forgive you because of what you just said about her chest a few minutes ago in your apology video. Also, my headcanon for why the and a lot of stuff came out after this about like everything he said in this video is obviously not true, including some stuff about like the big brother forgave him for it. But my headcanon is that you know, Earl showed up at their house and they knew he was coming. And the big brother's like, oh man, after hearing what he did to you, as soon as he gets here, I'm gonna mess that guy up. And then as he like looks through the keyhole and he sees Earl at the door, and he's like, oh man, you didn't tell me this guy was disabled. I can't beat up a disabled guy. Now I just gotta stand here. Like that's the only reasonable explanation that I can imagine for the brother supposedly not at least screaming at Earl, you know, beating him up, anything. Like the fact that he would just be like, ah, you know, like I guess I'm not gonna do anything about this. Is that the only thing I can imagine is that he saw him and he was just like, oh, he's like a special guy, you know, like
She stayed quiet. But has a right to be angry at me. I hurt her twin sister. And she has every right to hate me. Matt, the big brother, can, say life's too short for hate. But if I have to be hated by who is, his twin sister, who's like, I don't know, 21 right now when I fessed up for what I did, then I gotta live with being hated.
he's such a martyr.
And I've noticed that, yeah, the internet really does hate me for what I did, and honestly, that's your choice too. If you want to hate me, like hates me for what I did, then go right ahead. I did all I possibly could to apologize to. I approached her big brother, told her I was sorry. He said life's too short for hate. It Matt big brother,
I just gotta say, I know I mentioned it earlier. The sounds that they're playing every time that he doxes somebody they're all sounds that he made. It might be hard to make out like what some of them are because some of them are a little bit loud and like just incoherent. Um, they're from what I can tell, they're mostly the sounds of at one point he was on like a video call with a couple of trolls and they were all just harassing him about the situation and he starts like crying and screaming and cursing everybody out. So if it makes you guys feel any better while you listen to him admit this horrible thing that he did, the sounds that are played over him doxing people are the sounds of him sobbing as he is made fun of for it.
He was a great friend for me at Magic Macomb. He was sort of a big brother towards me. Matt was, but nah, he said life's too short for hate. I don't hate you for what you did, Earl, but I but he does acknowledge that what I did was wrong and that I should apologize, and I did apologize, and I received forgiveness. But does it matter to the internet that I received forgiveness? Probably not. Does it matter to the internet that I'm confessing for my sins today? Probably not. I realize that forgiveness really doesn't come from these past 5 months. I've realized that forgiveness really doesn't come from the internet, does it? You
So I joked around earlier about him being like a full grown man, like freshly learning the lesson that you shouldn't grab women. And this is like on the same this is on the same level as that. Just being like, yeah, I think I figured it out, guys. I think the light bulb went on, you know. The internet trolls will actually continue to make fun of you for stuff and they're not just going to forgive you and like you. Like it's such a crazy like yeah. Yes, that's how it is. Like you making a an apology video where you insult people's appearances, lie about their age, claim that people forgave you when they didn't, and basically make it like you didn't do anything wrong is not going to make everyone who's been like, you know, spending ridiculous amounts of time making content making fun of you and exposing you for what you did. That's not just going to make them like turn on a dime and be like, that Earl Doobie, he wrong place, wrong time. He got caught up with a bad crowd, but he's all right in my book.
you could present the internet with the most heinous crime you ever committed, prove without a shadow of a doubt that was unintentional and that was a mistake and that you feel disgust that you did it. And that really wouldn't matter to the internet, would it?
No,
It
no, it would
wouldn't.
not. Just like it probably
The
doesn't
internet would
matter to the
still
people who were
crucify you
physically
for
there.
it. The internet would still hate you for it. The internet would still label you as a sex offender for it.
Correctly, like accurately.
Now, if the internet wishes to label me as a sex offender,
Internet's
that's
another
your
one. You guys know
choice.
what I mean.
And here.
My sister never really forgave me for what I did, so you don't have to forgive me either, internet. But now I want to tell you the side of Imagine Macomb that you don't know. So please stay till the end of this video. So on January 4th, 2023, when I saw that YouTube comment underneath my YouTube video that made me think there was a bomb threat going to a bomb heading towards Imagine Macomb.
All right, so this is a completely different saga now that I'm gonna have to make another video about because it would be way too long to try to cover that at the same time that I'm covering the apology. So I'm gonna wrap that up for today. But we will eventually do the the Bowser false bomb threat arc at another time. But if you guys like the video, let me know in the comments. Drop a like, drop a subscribe. Before I go, let me just make sure I give credit to the channel. It's Funny Guy down here that I found this video. He's got archives of a couple of different Lolcows, but this is where I found like this no commentary, edited, censored version of the confession video. So if you guys are interested, go subscribe to him as well. And thanks for stopping by the channel, and I'll see you guys soon.